If you've ever blown a prop firm account, it's not your entries. It's the rule you don't have, and I learned that the expensive way. My name is Anthony. I post educational trading content on how to become a consistently profitable trader using prop firms, order flow, and consistency. Before we jump into the video, hit that subscribe button if you want to learn more about how to become a consistently profitable trader. And without further ado, let's dive into today's video. The rule that stopped me from blowing more accounts was actually having a daily bias and evolving that bias as we go through the market open. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how I form a daily bias and how I adjust my daily bias based on the price action that occurs within the morning hours I trade. So today was Friday, January 30th, and we had a super choppy day. I traded the 1 minute chart. I also referenced the 5 minute chart. So I'm basically just watching the 5 minute and the 1 minute, and my targets are very small, 10 points, 15 points, 1R, sometimes 2R on different strategies. So I'm only taking anywhere from about 10, 20, 30 points max per trade, and my stop losses are 10 to 15 points at maximum. With all that information out of the way, I watched the footprint chart on the 1 minute and the 5 minute chart, and I also used the VWAP, but I switched the chart to RTH. If you see at the bottom right on your charts, you can switch it from regular trading hours to electronic trading hours, which is the extended. But if you go to regular trading hours and you put your VWAP on, then as soon as the market opens, you're just going to be seeing the volume weighted average price based on the highest volume, which is the market open. Just want to look at the price action now, currently, what's happening between hands right now, so you can see where you're likely to see reactions. So that's the first step. Second step is I go to the footprint chart, like I said. So I'm watching the footprint chart on the 1 minute chart and the 5 minute chart. So I'm marking off the high volume nodes. This is the high volume node. It's where the most volume was transacted in each candle. And that to me means that price is likely to react off of those zones, because if the most of volume occurred in that area, that means that there's likely large players that transacted there. So if price returns to that area, you could see a reaction. But that's just one small signal. So let's go back. Let's combine what we're talking about here. We're looking at the RTH VWAP on the 1 minute chart, and we're looking at the high volume nodes on the 1 minute chart and the 5 minute chart. Those two together alone will dictate if we're likely to be continuing to trade higher or if we're continuing to trade lower. So obviously if you have strong candle closes above the VWAP, I'm going to have a little bit of a more bullish bias. If we have multiple candles in a row where the high volume node is increasing, then I'm going to have a more bullish bias. One candle on its own means nothing. The ideal is 3 candles in a row. So if for 3 candles in a row, you can see the high volume node moving higher, you likely have support for a bullish trend. If you see 3 candles in a row, it moves lower, you likely have support for a bearish trend. So I wait out the first minute, means nothing. Second minute comes, and we pretty much retrace the whole move. We go back to the low of day, and the high volume node is lower than the previous one. So this already negates there's no trend. If this third candle, the high volume node was lower, then I would say we're in a bearish trend. But so far you just see we're hanging around VWAP. The slope of the VWAP is relatively flat. We did go up and then down, but the high volume nodes were here, then went lower, then went higher. So now by 9:32, I know I have no trend, so I have no bias. After having no bias, a 9:33 candle closes, and this looks like support now. Why? Because we have high volume nodes clustered just below the VWAP, but then we closed a very strong candle above all these high volume nodes. So at this point, I'm leaning bullish because this looks like a shelf of volume below at the VWAP, and now we're above the VWAP. So if we close over all these high volume orders, it means we're likely to have continuation to the upside. So then I'm watching time and sales after this candle close. I'm watching to see if we're able to get in a long. I actually did take a long here. It was about, my entry is about 77, and it was just 1 hour, 15 points from 77 to in the 90s. I ended up getting into that trade for all the reasons I said, plus watching level 2, plus watching time and sales, and watching the volume. And all these things gave me confidence to enter along. But then I was watching for the retest after. I was watching down here. I got on another trade because we retested the VWAP and we came close to the cluster of the volume here. And then order book level 2, time and sales told me to get in again. and that one was just a 10 point trade. So I basically took one trade here, took another trade here, and then I took a break because after 2 wins, I kind of don't want to get greedy, don't want to get overconfident. So I just wanted to watch and see if we moved higher to continue the trend, and then watch for another retracement. But what happened next was we just kind of closed down. We retested that zone again, and we had a good reaction out of it. I didn't get in this trade. Reason why I didn't get in this trade is because we broke through down below the VWAP and closed below the VWAP. I didn't consider this like the greatest hold because I figured if I took a long, we could then get rejected by the VWAP, and the trend was not clearly strong. We were very choppy, plus the 5-minute chart was very choppy. So didn't get any trades there. But this is just some of the ways that I formulate the bias. And then as you can see, I'm evolving my bias based on the trend of the VWAP, based on how strong the candles are closing above or below the VWAP, based on the volume I'm seeing on the footprint chart of where the large transactions are, and based on the trends of the high volume nodes on the 1-minute chart and the 5-minute chart, I'm able to combine that and say, okay, a lot of big players transacted at certain areas, and now we've moved away from those areas. So if we retest those areas and show signs of strength on the level 2, time and sales and volume with price action, then I'm entering in that trade for a continuation in the trend of the large orders and my bias. That is, in a nutshell, how I create bias and how I evolve bias throughout the day. So as you can see too, after that move, you see 3 candles in a row, the high volume nodes are moving higher. So what I'd like to see is if we get this retest down here at VWAP and around a cluster of high volume nodes, and I get confirmations, I could take another long. I didn't take any longs here, but we moved down below it, and after moving below, moved higher, and just continued to chop. So today was a really choppy day, but if you're able to evolve your bias throughout the day and only wait for the retracements, then you're still able to capitalize on a day that was so range bound like today. It's one of the most range bound days you'll ever see. The plus side is at least we had some volatility, so the moves were decently strong. It wasn't like a very, very tight range. As in the low was 814 and the high was 940, so at least you had more than a 100-point range to play with. But that's what saved me from blowing so many prop firm accounts. Learning how to determine my daily bias and then learning how to evolve my bias as the day goes on. I was done for the day just before 10 a.m. so I didn't end up trading the cleaner moves that ended up coming after we kind of formed a trend after like 11 a.m. But even then, the candles are very wicky, so it was a tough trading day for most people probably, but since we ended the day before 10 with 2 green trades, everything worked well for me, and I was able to save mental capital and save my prop firm accounts. Hit that thumbs up button if you appreciate these tips. Let me know what you want to see more of in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.